As I record this episode, I just got back from visiting Southern California about a week ago, less than a week ago. I went there for work, and I just kind of want to take you behind the scenes of my business trip. If you are not familiar with me, hi, I'm Christina Nicholson, former TV reporter and anchor turned owner of a public relations agency called Media Maven, and I went to Southern California to visit my clients. Media Maven works with a company that has quite a few hotels and restaurants, and I've been working with them for 6 months, haven't visited any of the properties, so I wanted to check them out, and then I also wanted to create some content because I also handle social media for some of these hotels, and I also wanted to tell my team, like, what's up with the area, what's up with the hotels, like, what are these different angles we can pitch and whatnot. So I went to 3 different hotels. One is the Onsen Hotel and Spa, and this is just outside of Palm Springs. The other one is Art Hotel in Laguna Beach. And then the third hotel I went to was Cormorant, and that is in La Jolla, which is a nice suburb of San Diego. So I spent 2 nights at each hotel, flew into LA, made the mistake of driving from LA to Palm Springs on a Friday afternoon. Never do that. It should have taken 2 hours. It took 5. And then from there, drove to Laguna Beach, stayed for a couple of nights, and then from there, drove to La Jolla and stayed there for a couple of nights. I did bring my husband along with me because for like the first time since we've had kids, our parents are in the same city as us. His parents spend their winters in South Florida, and then my parents just bought a house in South Florida. So this was the first vacation, I say in air quotes, that we have taken without kids since we've had kids. So because my job during this visit was to essentially be a tourist, I thought it was great to have him along. And I have him trained. He's a pretty good Instagram husband. But listen, this wasn't all play. I was actually working. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the pre-work that I did. One thing I did was I did SEO keyword research to write a blog post for each place. And I did this for my blog on Christina All Day. So if you don't know, I am trying to build my lifestyle blog. That's like the fun thing that I do, ChristinaAllDay.com. I work with Brandon Gailey at RankIQ to try to get organic traffic to this website. I'm going to leave a link to RankIQ because if you want to build traffic to your website through blogging, you have to check out RankIQ. I'm obsessed with it. So I did some SEO keyword research on what I could blog about in these 3 places. And the titles that I came up with where I could rank were what to pack for a trip to Palm Springs. So obviously I'm not doing anything fashion related, but I have a hotel client in Palm Springs. So when you read this blog post, I will link to these blog posts in the show notes and description of the video so you can see. When I write this blog post, I'm talking about what to pack for Palm Springs, but I'm also going to talk about the things to do in Palm Springs and where to stay in Palm Springs. And that's where my hotel gets the plug. The other blog post I wrote was 5 best things to do in Laguna Beach, California. I'm going to talk about what to do and where to stay. Again, where the hotel gets the plug. Same thing for La Jolla. It's the 12 best things to do in La Jolla, California. Why 5 and why 12? There's just more to do in La Jolla than there is in Laguna Beach. So that's how that came about. So I wrote the blog post beforehand, and I wanted to make sure that my client was included, but not promoted. Because when something is overly promoted, you just tune out. It's like a sales blog post. It's not exciting. It's not interesting. Like, people just don't want to be a part of it. People are not reading this to see a commercial about my hotel clients. They're reading it because they're planning a trip to Palm Springs and they want to know what to wear and where to go. They're reading it because they're planning a trip to La Jolla with their kids and they want to know where to go and what to do, where they should stay. Like, they're not looking for a promotion. So when you are writing to promote something, just like in PR, just like when you're doing a podcast interview, that promotion will happen by default. When you focus too much on the promotion, it has the reverse effect. So keep it light, keep it fun, keep it touristy. That's why I said my job on this visit was to be a tourist. But that was the pre-work. I wanted to get those things done ahead of time because A, I'm crazy about time management, and B, it got me able to keep everything in mind while I was on the trip. So I made a list. Like, I didn't print out the blog post, but I made a list. Like, this is everything I talked about. So So I better go and experience these things. I better take pictures of these things. Now, obviously, I couldn't do everything. We had bad weather when we were in Laguna Beach. I have 12 things in La Jolla. Like, that's a lot. And plus, when I'm just walking around La Jolla, I found like a super cute bookstore, Warwick's, that happens to be the oldest independently owned bookstore in the country. Like, that wasn't on my list when I wrote the blog post, but it was something I experienced and I loved. So then I added it. So I made tweaks. I followed it as a guide, but then I made tweaks, and that's keeps it more real. So that's something else that I did. And then what I didn't experience, I used embedded images from Instagram. So for example, there was a lot of hiking that people do in Southern California, and I didn't do a lot of hiking. God bless my husband. He wanted to, but like I was doing other things or he was doing other things, or we had bad weather, whatever it was. We didn't do a lot of hiking. So instead, I would just like search whatever park I would talk about, find the image on Instagram, and then embed somebody's post. So this is like the way around using images that you don't own. You can embed other people's posts, and it's good for them because then they get the exposure to their social media from my blog. So I love embedding other people's images or videos or reels, whatever it is, because you get to see another perspective and you get like free access to their content without illegally stealing it. But when I was out and about, I took pictures and video with these things in mind, not just what was in the blog post, but also what I could turn into content for my clients' social media. So I took a lot of little short videos around the hotels. Like, if you looked at my camera roll, it looked ridiculous. Like, what is this 6-second video of like me eating corn pops? Like, no, I promise there is a point. This hotel has a breakfast every morning and they have all these things to choose from. And I'm just going to show you, this is what I like and this is what I'm eating this morning. So I just kept those things in mind. So it's like I'm on vacation, but I'm documenting my vacation. And then I'm organizing all of that documentation, not just for my blog, not just for my client's social media, not just for my social media, but I have to go back and put this all in a Google Drive folder so the client also has access to it. So not only does the client have access to all of these videos and images to use, but they can use it in a variety of ways for a variety of time. And then finally, I updated my team on my experience. So for example, something that I learned at Onsen Hotel and Spa was that the owner specifically bought that place because it's in a spa zone, and the water that fills the pool and the jacuzzi is from the hot springs, and the hot springs run like right under the hotel. So the water is always warm without needing to be heated because that water is literally just like coming from this natural hot spring in the ground. So that is something that like I obviously knew this was happening. They're my client, but I didn't know that was the reason the owner bought the hotel. So that's going to be a big play. Coachella, I learned that Coachella is just like 40 minutes outside the hotel. That's happening in April. That's going to be a big drive for people to stay there. And then when we go to Laguna Beach, I could see the ocean from my room. Some people who worked for this hotel and never stayed there didn't know you could see the ocean from a room. I got to experience that and I got to tell my team about it. And then with La Jolla, like you can see pictures, you can see videos, but when you're there experiencing it, like you have the seals over here, you have this Mexican restaurant, you can walk here, you can do this. Like there's just so many things that I could take back to my team to say, hey, at this restaurant, pitch this because this is something that the manager wants to bring more attention to. That is something we did. I met my client at a restaurant, a couple of the ladies that I work with, and we talked with the manager. And it's like, where do you need help? Well, not so much with lunch, but we want more people coming in to the bar at night. Okay, well, your drinks look fabulous. We could do this, that, and the other. Like it was just such a good experience that I could come back and tell my team. And then I told my team, like, wherever you guys want to go, whenever you want to go, let me know. I'll fly you out there just because it's a great experience to see the client, to meet with them face-to-face. And hey, if you know me, you know, like I don't care about the face-to-face. I'm not a face-to-face person. I'm not a meeting person. I'm not a phone call person. But this was lovely. And I think it's honestly just because they're like such lovely people. Some clients aren't so lovely if we're being honest. But like these women are amazing. I love working with them. So seeing them in person and actually seeing these places. And plus, like, let's be honest, it's Southern California. It's Palm Springs, Laguna Beach, San Diego. My husband got to tag along. He helped a lot with the imagery. Like he's like the model for some of these hotels. He helped with taking images and video of me. He was, my model sometimes. It was just super helpful having somebody there, especially when you're creating content. Like, yes, you can lug around a tripod and your lights and whatever, but when you have somebody there, it just makes it so much easier. And he's so laid back and easygoing that he's just like down with anything. So that's why he is the focal point of some of the trip. If you were following along my travels on Instagram at Christina all day. So that is the behind the scenes of my California business trip. Not all business meetings and business trips are like this. They're usually much more boring. That's why there's not a podcast episode about them. But if you want to hear about the boring stuff, I'm happy to tell you. This one is just a little different because it's hospitality. Hospitality is super fun. Again, it was in Southern California. My husband got to tag along. And this wasn't like all paid for too, I should mention. I paid for my flight. We paid for the rental car. We paid for all of the food there. The only things we didn't pay for was the hotel stay. And then if we ate at a client's restaurant, that was comped because again, it was a work trip. And then everything else was paid for by the business credit card because I was there for work. As a business owner, like those are the perks. You get to write things off and you get to make work what you want it to be. So when I work with restaurants and hotels, like it's all part of the job. So this was definitely one of the more fun business meetings that I have had in a while. Don't forget, I am linking to those 3 blog posts that I mentioned and RankIQ. You can find that in the description for the video if you're watching this on YouTube, and the show notes of the podcast if you're listening on your podcast app. Thank you so much for subscribing, for following. I appreciate you, and I will see you here next week on Become a Media Maven.